So we've got two questions, which are, I think, if I've correctly analyzed the partisan coin correctly, they play in different partisan camps. One viewer wants to know: are we going to get the so-called Walz checks on the Ventura check model that we talked about earlier? And another viewer is concerned about other issues and wants to know whether or not the state would consider using the surplus to eliminate the tax on Social Security. Now, I don't want to overstate the case. Obviously, there may be people in various camps that support these two theories, but at least it strikes me that they may come from different angles. I'm just wondering if our panel can quickly tell us what do they think the chances are that either one or both of these might be in some final bill. Let's start with Representative Marquart. What do you think? So tax using. Go ahead.
No, I think there's first of all, Governor Walz puts about over half of the budget surplus right back into the pockets of businesses and individuals. $2.7 billion replenishing the UI trust fund, $1 billion to frontline workers, and $700 million in the Walz checks. So, I mean, that's $4.4 billion out of the $7.7 billion. So when people give the money back, the Governor Walz is doing just that. So, I mean, anytime the governor proposes something, there's always a good chance that can happen. I think providing tax cuts for senior citizens should be an absolute top priority. When it comes to Social Security, the thing to remember is that on the Social Security benefits, 68% of all Social Security benefits are not currently taxed. I mean, it's a complex formula, but 68% of those benefits are not taxed, and 55% of all Social Security recipients are not taxed. If you are living only on Social Security, you are not being taxed one dime on those dollars. In fact, your income's under about $50,000, you're probably not being taxed hardly anything at all. So what I'd like to see is do things, and this will certainly be part of the mix, but I'd like to look at things that would cut taxes for all senior citizens, not just the wealthiest Minnesotans, and that could be in property taxes. Our senior citizens, they live in a home or in a rental, or they might be in a nursing home or a medical facility. Let's lower property taxes. Let's lower rent costs. Let's make sure those nursing homes are the highest quality they absolutely can be. I think that's what seniors really need, and I think should be a big part of it. But cuts for senior citizens absolutely is going to be a top priority in this session.
Representative Miller, Social Security tax cuts and direct rebate checks. What do you think?
Well, as I stated in the beginning, I'm for addressing that Social Security income tax problem. As far as the checks, I think it's kind of a small gesture towards a bigger problem. In writing checks directly to people, you may not. You're going to be sending checks to people that didn't pay any taxes at all, and $300 is $300. I think is what the rough dollar amount is. That's why I say do a tax rebate. That's more reflective of the people that pay taxes. We've had some discussion as to whether it's refundable or not. I think that's a fair question. But anyway, my concern with what Representative Marquart said, my concern about addressing things like property tax, and I don't want to put words into his mouth. Representative Marquart and I have a very good, respectful relationship, and I'm on his committee, so I want to continue that. But I want to make sure that I'm clear about one thing. When I hear putting it into property taxes, one of the big priorities, I believe, of the governors, but I have heard this, is to increase local government aid. And what happens is we put more money to local government aid, and we call it property tax reduction because it's going against what property taxes pay for. But those communities don't reduce their property taxes at all. They just take on the more local government aid. So that's problematic for me. If there is money that is going to address property tax issues, okay. But I want it to have a direct reflection on that. I don't just want it to go into the pot and then have the city maintain what its property tax rates are and what its collections are at the same rate.
Senator Frentz?
75% chance there's a Walz check in some amount. I do think most people in my neck of the woods are saying give some of it back. I've said in TV and radio already, I think at least half should go back in some direct form. You asked what the odds are, so I said it. There it is. I would say also, I look at it a little differently, Representative Miller. Even those that are at the lower levels that don't pay income tax, they pay in other ways. They pay sales tax. They support our companies, and I think they're deserving of some of these direct rebates. And I think if you went to the average family and said, look, you can get, just to take an example of an individual cut in the second tier of a 1/4 point, you can get $6 more in every paycheck, or we can give you $300 right now. I think most Minnesotans in that income level would say, I'll just take the 300. Anyway, that's my sense of it. On Social Security, you know, you got to have me follow the tax chair of the House. There is an argument that that is not the best way to help all of our seniors, in that it benefits disproportionately the wealthiest seniors. And I know some very nice men and women who are in that category. We have Glenn Taylor living in this area, one of the nicest men you'll ever meet, but I don't want our tax policy to put him at the top. I also am hearing that AARP is not that excited about it, and that tells me that some of the other priorities that we might look at with that money may favor the larger number of seniors. And with that, I'll just say, anytime you're on with the House tax chair, you have to watch your answers.
Very good. Very good. Very safe answer there, Senator Frentz. Senator Ingebrigtsen?
Well, I guess I'm not worried about being safe, quite frankly. Paul, you and I know each other. We walk together occasionally in St. Paul, and
Yep.
trying to keep ourselves a little sane when after a tough day at work. But I say we give the dollars. If we're going to give the dollars back, we give it in tax credits to those that have actually paid the taxes, and that might be in the form of property taxes. As far as the naming the checks coming back, I'm not sure that Governor Ventura even called them Jesse checks. I think somebody just made that up. I'm a little concerned about that. I'm saying maybe individual overcharge checks should be called an overcharge check coming back. Quite frankly, that's what we have done, is we have overcharged. I mean, that's what a surplus is about. Now that a case could be made. A lot of that came from the federal government. Nevertheless, it's still out of our pocket one way or the other, and we've just basically overcharged. So we've got to be prudent as to how we give this back, but a top priority has to be Social Security tax. Glenn Taylor, I don't know Glenn Taylor, never met him, but I don't want to beat up on entrepreneurs like him. I don't want, if he's paid his taxes over the years and it's a lot more than me, I'm awful sure. Then he should be getting an equal amount back. I don't understand why we would not do that for especially the entrepreneurs that make Minnesota great the way it is right now. So it's going to be quite a debate, no question about it. Individual checks coming back, I'm for the frontline workers getting their checks, but after that, I think tax credits is going to be more meaningful.